Hey everyone, welcome back to HD Reddit Reads. Today's topic is, what's the worst way you've seen someone F up their life? Let's get into it. A guy I knew in high school drove drunk one night and hit a car with 3 girls in it and killed all 3. His sister was driving the other car with her 2 friends in it. Not only did he go to prison for involuntary manslaughter, but he had to go with the guilt of killing his sister. A guy I knew posted Facebook pictures of his new motorcycle on Thursday. On Friday morning, his wall was full of "RIP bro." Turns out he went too fast getting on the freeway, sideswiped a car, lost control, and crashed. Then was hit by a truck. It wasn't even 24 hours after he posted the pic. The one I know personally was a guy who was in a car crash that was so bad that he had to be airlifted. His heart stopped at least 3 times on the trip, and he spent the next week drifting in and out of consciousness. He recovered physically, but his brain is wired completely different. He can't remember very much, has a great deal of anxiety and impulse control issues, and he became a heroin/sex addict for years, and he managed to find himself on death's door 3 more times during these years due to ODs. Luckily, he's been clean for a good amount of time, but he's lost years of his life because of an F-up. The one I didn't witness personally was a guy that a friend of mine had grown up with. The guy had several issues, not the least of which was that he was suicidal. One day, he decided he didn't want to live, so he goes and grabs a gun from his dad's collection. He loads it up, puts the gun in his mouth, and pulls the trigger. I'm not a ballistics expert, but apparently, between the angle of the gun and the ricochet off the bones in his skull, the bullet ended up blowing his nose off, destroying his sinuses and leaving him without many teeth. The worst part was that he managed to live through it. He had to spend a great deal of time getting surgeries and therapy, but he was never really the same after something like that. I had TBI, traumatic brain injury, back in 2013. I can understand how people would go to drugs afterward. Nothing was right. I suppose lots of things still aren't. It's hard, just walking around town, people know who I am, but I don't always remember them. When I see someone and they smile, are they being friendly, or am I supposed to remember this person? I don't remember my wife telling me that we were going to have a baby. I barely remember her being born. My wife constantly tells me stories I don't remember happening. I'll never go to hard drugs, even though my spine is broken. I'd rather deal with the pain than risk being addicted to opiates. So I just don't go to the doctor. I always thought I was so smart before my accident. People called me gifted. Now I can barely remember people's names. I had to relearn who I am. I don't even know if it's over. Does my wife love the person I've become, or the person I was? I don't know why I've decided you're the person to tell this all to. Hopefully I'll read this later and reflect. I bet you're a good friend. Back in May, I ended a 3-year toxic relationship with my narcissistic ex-GF who played me the entire relationship. I first started using heroin in 2015. I ended up in rehab at the end of 2016. Hid my relapses from my family ever since. Used H with my ex-GF too for years, which only added fuel to the fire. Last time I spoke to my ex, I caught her lying about something really serious. She had said she drugged and raped me night before my birthday after moving across the globe. I had the thought to use her Facebook to log into the Tinder account, and there I found who she really was and that she never cared about me. There were blatant messages to a guy asking if she should be concerned since they didn't use protection. My entire world shattered that day, for the better in the long run. I ended up relapsing the next month for 30 days straight. Long story short, I haven't touched H since August, and after I kicked, my perception of dope changed dramatically. I'm losing in life if I'm doing heroin, and you always gotta pay the piper someday. My point is, yeah, both staying in abusive relationships and heroin use can destroy a person's life, but it doesn't mean there's no coming back from the destruction. Just wanted to share my story to show there's hope after things like this. You can rebuild, and most importantly, learn from your experiences. I'm much better than I was when all that went down, and much wiser because of it too. I'm not sober by any means, but I have more discipline than I've ever had in my life. I changed the way I use drugs, and it became natural once I stopped blaming the drugs. Took some personal responsibility and started looking at my life as objectively as possible. Had a good friend who was really dang smart in school and even coding at age 15. He was completely straight edge in high school. He wouldn't even smoke a joint with me, and I don't even think he drank or partied once. College opportunities left and right. I really thought he was going to do better in life than me or the rest of my friends. All that changed after we graduated. He dated a girl who was a lot more into the party scene. At one point, I ended up buying weed from them, and they were in a lot more than just weed. Then, one night, his girlfriend and a buddy take a bunch of ecstasy, rolls his car, and kills his girlfriend. My buddy was paralyzed from the waist down after that. Their other friend got arrested for possession of X. The parents of the girl dropped manslaughter charges on my friend. No idea why. After that, my buddy laid pretty low, no social media, talked to him only once or twice, was kinda weird, ain't gonna lie. We lost contact. A few years later, he's driving and gets in a head-on collision. Turns out my buddy was high on amphetamines and killed the other driver. He was at fault and went to prison for manslaughter. I think he's out now, but I haven't seen or heard from him since. No idea where he's at now. Edit. Answer some questions. Yes, I mean my buddy was paralyzed from the waist down and his friends claimed possession of the X. And my friend got a modified car afterwards where the accelerator was operated by hand and it was down by the handbrake/console area. No idea where the brakes were. Never drove it, but the vehicle was used in the second manslaughter. My partner's sister. A beautiful girl, graduated from college as a single mom, worked her ass off and got a good position at work. She got fired one day for using company's car to go to the beach with friends. Then, she lost her car because she couldn't afford to fix it. She borrowed her mom's car, crashed it within a week. She started to drink a lot more, gained a lot of weight. She suddenly married her ex-boyfriend, a devoted, unemployed Catholic guy. Gave birth to 2 kids, fought like crazy, calling cops on each other all the time, crying, yelling, cheating. She abandoned her eldest son, moved to New Jersey with her husband and 2 other kids. Heroin overdose, more drinking, more calling the police. Got injured, not doing what the doctor said, might lose her right foot. This girl I met when I worked retail had just moved to town from out of state. She was a hard worker, lived with her brother so she could save money for school. She hustled. She worked 2 jobs, saved enough money for school, then got pregnant. Over the next couple years, she managed to get pregnant 2 more times. All 3 kids have different dads, and 2 of the dads have been or are in jail. So now this girl who is so smart, determined, and hardworking is a struggling single mom in poverty. It breaks my heart. One of my high school health teachers was known for giving girls a very pointed lecture on the importance of looking out for themselves. She very bluntly said, "Do not check up with a sketchy man. For the safety of yourself and your future offspring, it will destroy your life." Some people consider her mean for saying this, but it's a message that more people need to hear. One sure way to destroy your future is to have children at a young age with no stable partner and no education or career. Back in grade 10, me and a group of my friends that I had knew since kindergarten decided to play World of Warcraft. As expected, we spent countless hours and time enjoying our journey through Azeroth. Unfortunately, our one friend named Chris took things a little too far. He began to stop doing homework, staying up late at night, and eating copious amounts of junk food. We began playing at the start of 10th grade, and by the end of our first semester, Chris had failed all 5 classes. He had never failed a class in his life prior. Not even just fail, 3 of his classes he received the automatic lowest mark you were forced to give a student, of 35. He gained a lot of weight, grew out his hair, which he had never done prior to this in his life, and his hair was super greasy. From the semester forward, he never lost the weight, his hair always stayed long and greasy, and he was never interested in school again, enough to make an effort. Still to this day, 12 to 13 years since WoW, he remains the same dude that WoW made him instead of the smart, clean, and fit boy he used to be. Never lived up to his potential, because being a night elf hunter is too good of an opportunity to pass up. My mom's cousin drunk drove from the horse races and killed a guy driving home from work to his family. Honestly, he should have gotten a harder sentence than he got. He mentions the hardest part was when they housed him with all the pedophiles, so he couldn't even have pictures of his own kids up because they were truly disgusting. The parole terms were pretty strict, and I hope he honestly spends the rest of his life trying to somehow make this better. On another note, he was trying to find an article on the incident and found out the drunk driver who killed my high school deputy and his wife, who was the teacher of my primary school, was caught again drunk driving after he'd already been punished for their deaths. My town has a lot of deaths like this. Folks, just don't do it. Gambling and alcohol. A man I knew owned several restaurants and a big manufacturing company making Asian foods nationwide. The company was doing well under his family, but his family moved back to China and signed over everything to him. He partied like no tomorrow. He'd drink 1K, 2K a week with his friends. Had a girlfriend who was super attractive, but she knew she was attractive and went her whole life being a trophy girlfriend. He spent lavishly on her. He got into gambling. I heard he'd lost up to 50K at a time, and in no time the treadmill went too fast. He started falling behind on car payments, his mortgage, his credit cards, his credit lines. He didn't pay for equipment leases. Slowly everything unraveled for him. He lost everything. He used to drive an S65 and a G65. He's now driving a Toyota Tundra. He used to live in a 10,000 square foot home. He now has a bachelor's apartment. He owns a unit though, and his business? Gone. They sold it to another family from China, including their building. Whatever his parents had in his country was gone. They just had some savings and properties under a major city in China. It was very sad to see. I didn't really have a close relationship with him, but my parents did. Thank you for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing. It'll be greatly appreciated. And if you want to visit the original thread, I'll link it in the description. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one.